There's just so many good players at every level of the wide receiver position right now. Is A.J. Brown a top 5 receiver? And who are the top 5 receivers in the NFL right now, midway through the 2022 season?
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Let's get right into this, Gelhar. First thing I want to talk about today, A.J. Brown's absolute eruption spot against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, 3 touchdowns, that's cool enough, right? But the way he scored those 3 touchdowns, all of them on go routes, all of them doing like kind of the things that I think most casual folks don't expect out of A.J. Brown, because, you know, we could dive into this a little more. He shines so brightly in like the yak moments and like 50-50 balls and stuff like that. But just the way he won against the Steelers was incredibly impressive to me. Where were you at on like A.J. Brown as a fantasy guy coming into this year? And what's been kind of your takeaway about his season so far, but especially that game here in week 8?
Yeah, so coming into the season, I was optimistic, but a little concerned about the target share with Devonta Smith being there, Dallas Goedert, and putting all of this on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts. You know, we hadn't really seen him prove it in an offense where he was going to sling it with this level of frequency. But I think you're right. The way that A.J. Brown is winning and they're using him is so fun to watch, because if you just think back or like picture in your mind, like A.J. Brown highlights, like you said, it's like him catching a slant or a dig and then breaking 3 or 4 tackles and just, you know, ripping off down the field for 70 yards. But some of those touchdown passes last night or yesterday where he was winning, like you said, on go routes, and Hurts was hitting them on beautiful balls down the sidelines. It was awesome to see, and like frightening for opposing teams that, you know, A.J. Brown has developed this new skill. And I was thinking about the same thing when you had put this on the rundown. So I pulled up his RP numbers, and last year he only ran a 9 route on, you know, 12.2% of his routes that you charted, which was a lower number. So I don't know what the numbers are this year per in season, but just that he's doing that type of route and being successful on it is kind of frightening and really cool to see him add that to his game.
Yeah, like vertical outside the numbers stuff. That's actually more of like Devonta Smith's game, even though, you know, we think of he's the skinnier guy. He's like a pure separation receiver, but really there were a lot of moments, at least as a rookie, where, you know, Hurts and Devonta Smith hit on those plays. So, and we've actually seen that plenty this year too, right? Like we've seen Devonta Smith shine in the vertical game, but the fact that A.J. Brown did what he did against the Steelers in that fashion, like it made it all the more impressive for sure, because I think what is underrated about A.J. Brown is how good of a separator he is. And that's like the big reason why I wanted to talk about him, because, you know, last year you brought up the reception perception data. Great website. People should check it out, receptionperception.com, if you haven't heard of it so far. Well, welcome to the show. I don't know what the hell you're doing here if you've never heard of the website, but last year he was 3rd in success rate versus man coverage. He's been like top 5 in success rate versus man and press in 2021 and 2020. He gets open against man and press coverage at the rate of guys that are like Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams, you know, especially Diggs, like a smaller receiver like that. But Brown has always been up there. So in a way, I think he's actually, you bring up like the Stephon Diggs part of it. He really is kind of being lifted to sort of a higher tier of wide receivers by this move that's been made, him going from Tennessee to Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's super fun to watch, and you could always tell he was a great separator, but it seemed that his skill set more naturally provided for like those in-breaking routes where he could use his size and physicality a little more, but some of the ones that might take a little more nuance, like getting open on the go routes or some more subtle moves, you know, at the break point or the stem, it's cool to see him doing that stuff now. And like I said, just absolutely terrifying for the rest of the NFC.
And the beautiful part about this offense for fantasy, dude, is like, they don't get anybody else involved. Like there's occasionally a Zach Pascal play, whatever, but like it's Jalen Hurts, it's A.J. Brown, it's Devonta Smith, it's a little bit Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders, but like that's it. There's no little like ancillary players that like, oh, this guy's going to steal a touchdown or something like that. For the most part, it's just the dudes. And we love those type of offenses for fantasy. I think that this move to Philadelphia elevates him in like the national standing, because I thought coming into this year, A.J. Brown is a top 5 receiver. A.J. Brown has top 5 wide receiver talent, because the separation ability, the reception perception stats we just mentioned, where he was second or third in success rate versus man. He's always been top 5 in success rate versus press, but also in addition to the highlight reel moments, the yak opportunities, the contested catch ability. So my question to you, Alex Gelhar, because I get to host this show, that means I get to ask the questions now instead of answering them. Is AJ Brown a top 5 receiver? And who are the top 5 receivers in the NFL right now, midway through the 2022 season?
Right now, midway through the 2022 season, I do think AJ Brown is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. I think his performance since getting to Philadelphia has left little doubt. As we talked about, the way he's progressed, the way he's still dominating as he did previously. I think he's in that range, especially with some of the other guys who might have been considered around him having down years, whether individually, injury, or offensively. So I mean, if I had to pick a top 5, I think I'd probably put Tyreek at the top at the moment, Cooper Kupp, Diggs, Jefferson, and Brown in some sort of order there. That's just coming off the top of my head and based on performance and things like that. But I'd probably put maybe Jefferson at the bottom. I don't know if it's more of his offense or him. At the beginning of the season, I would have put him closer to the top of the tier. But there's just some ways that he's been getting washed out of that Minnesota offense. And I'm not sure if that's just they're not adjusting to the way teams have responded after everybody watched him just gash the Packers for 200 yards in week 1 or what it is. But I think Brown's firmly in there right now, with some other longstanding guys like Adams and maybe even Jamar Chase at the moment because he's injured, and your boy McLaurin sitting just outside, looking up at the rest of the group.
If you're ranking the top 5 or the top 10 or the top 12, top 15, top 20 at the position, and you feel like you didn't leave somebody off, you did the exercise wrong, because there's just so many good players at every level of the wide receiver position right now. And I think right now Stephon Diggs has been the best receiver in the NFL this year. I think Tyreek Hill's a close second, if not number 1. At that point, then it's like Cooper Kupp. I agree with you. I think I'd put Brown a little bit ahead of Justin Jefferson, but I feel like Jefferson rounds out 5. But I don't know that I feel comfortable not having Devontae Adams in that top 5 though, right? Because despite the stats and all that stuff being down, like it's not him, right? Like he's still the same player, but it's just the ecosystem that he's in right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like he suddenly forgot how to be the best route runner in football. It's just that offense right now, whether it's McDaniels or Carr or a combination of everything, has not supported him the way that the Green Bay offense used to, which was a thing a lot of us kind of predicted. We weren't hoping for, but that Green Bay offense was so tilted towards Adams in the passing game. For me, for Hill over Diggs, I just think it's been impressive to see Hill in this offense without Patrick Mahomes, still making a lot of the similar plays, but also some other like impressive plays. Like Tyreek Hill has won so many jump balls, and he's not a big jump ball receiver. So to see him adding those elements, or at least just showcasing those elements to his game that weren't as necessary when he had the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes combo, and now he's still got a good coach coordinator, but Tua is not Patrick Mahomes. So to see him be able to catch some of those more contested catches and jump ball throws out of such a regular basis and look so dominant so far has been why I might put him at the top. But I mean, Diggs is phenomenal too. We're talking about the cream of the crop here. They're all phenomenal.
Just Tyreek Hill is unbelievable because I still think, there are plenty of times where Tua doesn't lead Tyreek Hill, but they still get this chunk. It's like, who cares? It's like, sure, is Tua going to be the best deep ball passer in the NFL throwing to I don't know, Devontae Smith or whatever? Who cares? He's not throwing to Devontae Smith, throwing to Tyreek Hill, right? So he's going to, and that contested catchability, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think that's always been the most underrated part about Tyreek Hill's game and why I've always thought he's kind of like the modern day Steve Smith. It's like a guy who can go up in 50-50 high point balls because he is just tougher pound for pound than everybody else. So and I think he's definitely, in terms of guys that just change the math, change the way defenses approach you, he's probably number 1 on that list. I'm a Diggs bro, and I'm a long time Diggs guy, so that's why I want to have him at that number 1 spot, especially because the way him and Josh Allen are just so on the same page right now, it's just unbelievable. They're bringing out the best in each other. So I'll put Diggs 1 spot ahead of Tyreek Hill, and then I think I'd have Oh man, I'd have Cooper Kupp third. It's just weird when you rank Cooper Kupp because he's just so different than all of these other guys. That makes it really hard. And I know he's injured right now, or he's probably going to play next week anyways. Who cares? But I will say, like, there is no way that you could ask Cooper Kupp to play in like the Stephon Diggs role, but I think you could ask Stephon Diggs to play in the Cooper Kupp role. That's why I still have him third. But like AJ Brown, yeah, I think he'd be 4, and then I think it's between Adams and Jefferson at 5, and it's just like recency bias. And then we're not even like talking about Jamar Chase, who I do think belongs in the conversation as well. It's hard to rank the top 5 receivers in the NFL, but I think the one takeaway you and I both have is that AJ Brown belongs in the conversation. Like, not even a discussion at this point. Like, I do think he's got to be in there over Justin Jefferson, as good as Justin Jefferson is, and as excited as we all were for him in fantasy. I can't believe Jefferson hasn't scored since week 1. I didn't even realize that. And it's crazy.
It's crazy. Well, didn't he get a rushing touchdown or something? I thought
he did.
But he hasn't caught one since week 1.
Caught a touchdown. Yeah, that's it. That's what it was. Yeah. But he did. It was against the Saints, I believe. He rushed a touchdown. I mean, he's been fantastic. He's been putting up absurd catches and yardage totals. It's like you get a 98-yard game for Justin Jefferson. I don't want to hear you complain about that in fantasy football. Okay. Like, there's a lot of imagine the people who took like Najee Harris or something in the first round. Okay. Like, you think about how they're feeling right now. So yeah, we'll move on, but yeah, top 5 receivers in the NFL, AJ Brown belongs, and it's a tough group to rank.